Well, hello everybody. Happy Friday
Happy Friday.
and welcome to the
Howdy.
back catalog listening party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us from the Southside Aces, Tony Bailiff.
Yay.
Hello.
Woo! And there they are. Folks coming in
Thank you.
to enjoy the party. It's been that kind of week. We have to
It
like
has.
gear ourselves up for a party again, but it's going to be a party. Can you tell? We
Yes.
are
If you're
we're
watching, you can tell it's a party.
We're getting pretty festive here on the back catalog listening party. I have a Santa in the background. I found my Santa ears. I have a tree, and Tony has real Christmas trees behind him. Is that
Yeah,
two
looking
Christmas
good.
trees?
It is. Yes.
Wow, very nice. And Tony, I see you have your Christmas collar.
Yeah, it didn't. It's a kid-sized Christmas thing, so it's my Christmas collar.
Yep.
But I do have my stocking here.
Yeah, so
Um,
maybe if Santa wants to bring you something for your stocking, I think we're gonna get some musical treats at the very least
that's
today.
right. That's right.
And maybe some beverage treats. It is Friday, and it's
Mm.
been a week. Lots of bugs flying around, home projects at Tony's place.
Bunch of snow here in the Twin Cities.
So there's a lot happening. So I am excited to kick back with you all and enjoy a festive cocktail. And
Ooh.
I have what I call an Applejack, a Mother
Mm.
Banjo cocktail. It's a whiskey and spiced cider and cinnamon. So
Nice.
cheers.
Yum.
Cheers. Yeah. Tony, do you have a beverage going here?
I'm going with a Vucare.
Mm.
Mm,
It's my favorite cocktail of winter.
mm.
Awesome.
And what's
Awesome.
in a Vucare?
It is rye, cognac, so a little bit of vermouth, and that other thing that's made by the monks. I can't remember the other.
Mead?
and some and some lemon peel, and it's just
Wow. That's
Nice.
you guys are fancy. I'm
it
just
helps you
going.
settle in.
Hey, that's right. It's perfect for this time of year. I'm going with just a dark beer. I've got my Bell's Porter. But cheers, Tony. Cheers, Ellen.
Cheers.
And cheers to all of you out there. It looks like you're arriving early. If you're new to the show, this is what we do every week. We get together with our friends, have a drink, and listen to good music. And it's really about conversation. And feel free to jump in the comments if you have questions for Tony or comments about the music. And it looks like people are showing up early already here today, Ellen.
Yeah, I know. Connie, hi from Richfield, and Joe sitting cozy Minneapolis with a bent paddle black ale. Ooh, one of my favorites.
That's a good one.
And Alan joining us from Dallas this week. Cheers, Alan. And Gary in St. Michael. And my mom joining us from Snowless, Connecticut. Oh, man.
no.
Oh,
Well, we got plenty here. We can send some of your way. I just shoveled it. Let's see. Alan having a Bullet 95 rye. Nice.
very.
All right. Very classy. So we are very excited to have you all. Hi, Lynn. And we're really excited because this is our last live show of before Christmas. So
Yes.
hence the festive holiday wear. And we're going to get festive right here with the Southside Aces as we continue our holiday music theme. And Southside Aces, for Twin Cities folks, might be familiar with them. But for those of you who might not be familiar with the Southside Aces, Tony, maybe you could start by just talking a little bit about the band and your background and maybe how you formed this band.
Oh, sure. Before we do that, though, I'd like to introduce
Oh!
you to my
Nice.
Oh.
it's a moose. He has a scarf.
Oh,
Perfect.
that's amazing.
Anyway,
Yes.
Bringing the holiday, man. I love it. For those, a little behind the scenes here, neither Ellen or I had any holiday stuff going on. I don't know. It's been a long week. Tony shows up and just steps it up another level.
We had
And
to
all
dig
of
up some
this
stuff.
is because of you, Tony. Thank you.
well, great improvisation you do. So.
Well, so you and your Christmas sweater, Tony, do you want to tell us a little bit about Southside Aces and how you got your start?
Yes, I've been playing clarinet since I was 8 years old, and had just started to really become interested in jazz a few years before this happens. I was working in a warehouse, and I had a friend from that. But 5 years after we left the warehouse, I get a call from this guy, and I hadn't been in touch with him this whole time. Actually, he's a drummer for the band Loose Rails. His name's Adam Fesenmeyer, and he called me and said, "I met this guy at a party, and he says he plays sousaphone, and he wants to form a New Orleans." He said the word. He said a New Orleans dance hall band, whatever
Hmm.
that means. And I said, "Give me his number." And,
Yeah, man.
and so that's how I met my co-leader, Eric Jacobson. He plays the sousaphone in the band, and from there it's kind of he brought two guys, I brought two guys, and that was way back in 2003.
So by my count, there's 6 members of the band.
Yes.
Excellent. And maybe you could go through the instrumentation of the band. Oh, there they are. There you are.
Well, there I am, stage left on the right, playing clarinet. My co-leader is behind my right shoulder there with the blue tie. That's Eric Jacobson. He plays sousaphone. We have Dan Eichmeyer on trumpet in the middle. Next to him on trombone is Eric Johnson. Next to him is Robert Bell on guitar. And in the background there, that head floating in the background is our drummer, Dave Michael.
Well, and it's funny. Often drummers do only. You're lucky if you just get to see their head because they're often in the background. But we're excited to see the full band and excited to hear the whole band. Oh, wow. Tell us about this photo.
Yeah, this was the band I just introduced is the band as it is these days. It's been that lineup for the last 5 years. But there's 4 of us that are original to the band. This has a couple of the older members, but this is the inside cover of the album we're going to listen to today. I made us all wear unions, although I didn't really have to force guys. We all wore union suits for this photo. And
Nice.
we had taken a bunch of pictures with us having happy expressions, and I said, "Hey, let's try to be surly elves for one picture."
Little bad
And
Santa
that's the
vibe
one that
going
made
on.
the cut.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
Nice. And for those of you who are maybe just listening to the show, we'll make sure to have these photos on the website so you can find them later, and because they're pretty special.
That's pretty awesome.
So, well, let's set up this record that we're going to talk about right now and revisit. Your pick was your 2012 album Santaphone, and as you said, it's a different lineup on this record. Is there anything else you want to say about what led up to the making of this record in particular?
Well, I have a band full of people who love Christmas music, and so it just follows that. 2012 was almost 10 years into the band, and we'd made a few other albums. We just really wanted to do one, and we'd been starting to play Christmas shows for a couple of years, and we built up a repertoire. So it was just time, we had
Yeah.
momentum toward it.
Well, and you
In
were saying, I mean,
June,
this is a long-standing band. You got to work in December.
yes.
After a certain many years, when you know the band is going to be together for a while, you got to get that holiday record so you can work in
Yeah,
December.
exactly. Yeah, I don't think is there any bands that was their first record, a holiday record? I don't think so.
I don't think so. They're like, oh yeah, yeah. After a few seasons of not
Yeah.
playing too much after Thanksgiving, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, let's get our holiday cheer on right now
Yeah.
and dig into this record. The first track you picked to feature on today's show, Tony, is God Rest You Merry Gentlemen. I'm sure folks are familiar with the tune. Is there anything you want to say about before we take a listen to your version of the song?
Well, I love that a 500-year-old song can be so alive today in all kinds of different permutations, including through the New Orleans jazz filter. It's a great tune with great moving chords, and so it's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, mine too. And this version is killer. So everybody, this is turn it up. That's all I'm going to say. This is the perfect way to kick off your Friday and the special holiday episode of the Back Catalog Listening Party. This is the Southside Aces with God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen.
Haha. All right. That was
Woo!
Southside Aces with their take on "God Rest You Merry Gentlemen" from their 2012 album Santaphone, which we are revisiting today with the band's leader Tony Bailiff, and part of that six-piece New Orleans style jazz band. And oh man, I dare folks not to dance during
Yeah,
that. Man,
That
ah, so good.
we
yeah.
love doing that one. I want to
Yeah.
give a shout out to the guys who are on that album that aren't in the band these days, and that was Zach Lozier on trumpet,
Mm.
and also Steve Sandberg on trombone. So
Nice.
that's
Nice.
yeah,
And folks will probably know Zach from his work with Davina and the Vagabonds, who's
yes,
also been a guest here on Back Catalog Listening Party. Great players. And Joe had a question. Folks, of course, loving the music. And Joe said, I love the way you pass it around from player to player. Does this change from gig to gig? I think he might mean like the order and
Arrangements.
this and
yes.
yeah.
I'm the bandstand leader, and so I mean we have some songs. We have about 500 songs in our book, and so some songs kind of are pretty well arranged, but most of
Wait, wait,
them
wait.
we just
500 songs.
yeah. Well, my mentors could play 900 songs off the top of their head. So I always
Wow.
like when people look at our book and say, "Wow," I go, "Yeah, it's a good start." But
Nice.
Well, and so when you say a book, I mean, do you literally have a, book of arrangements and charts that
yes,
you kind of
yes.
work from? So
So
you don't need to recall all 500 at any
yeah,
given time.
no, those guys, of course, my mentors, that is, they played at a different time when they were playing together 3 to 5 times a week,
Mhm.
and all those songs got hardwired into them. And
Speaking of
so it's
mentors,
it's hard to ask that of a 21st century jazz guy, you know. So yeah, it's best that I have a book.
Yeah.
before the program, you mentioned one of your mentors was in one of the photographs you shared, so I thought it might be a good time to show this picture here. Can you tell us who that is and a little bit about his mentoring relationship?
Well, his name is Charlie DeVore. He was the cornetist and vocalist of the Hall Brothers New Orleans Jazz Band, or the Hall Brothers Jazz Band. They were a local band from about 1959, and most of the members have passed away, including Charlie just this year. Actually,
Hmm.
he's the reason I play jazz. He there's a few guys that really took me under their wings, and he's one of them. And he really just taught me how to be a bandstand leader, how to play this music, who to listen to, and all of that. He's just a great guy, and oh my God, he used to put on some of the best Christmas shows too. Just him and Butch Thompson on piano.
Mm.
And so anyway, that's Charlie. That's him. Me. That's the back of my head, and that's Charlie there at a dance that we played a few years ago. So
That's great.
Well, I'm glad you brought up dancing because, as I said, music, if, for folks who've never seen the Southside Aces live, it's like I said, hard not to dance. I'm assuming most of the time when you perform out, you're playing in like halls where there's like a dance floor and people can dance.
well, actually, not so much since coming back from the gap, the pandemic. We used to play at the Eagles a lot, but now I mean, in terms of jazz clubs, we have the Dakota and we have Crooners, and those aren't spots for dancing.
Mm.
So we haven't been able to play in the dance halls as much
Mm.
in recent times, but we certainly love to do that. So
Yeah. Well, and if folks who are tuned in, either listening or watching the show on YouTube, you can feel free to dance all you want.
yeah,
No one's watching.
Anthony and I are a little more anchored to the screen here so that we can chat with our guests, but so we can only dance in our chairs. But you should feel free to cut a rug because this music is not meant for sitting. I don't think not for very long at any rate.
I think we might have cut you off, Tony, when you were trying to explain to get to Joe's question about the
Mm.
arrangements going from. Sorry, Joe.
oh,
Going from we get excited when we talk to our guests. Going from like gig to gig to the. You were talking a little bit about how you're the arranger, and can you
well,
talk a little bit about that?
yeah, I arrange all the songs, and some of the songs require really more kind of more exact arrangements. A lot of our Duke Ellington songs, for instance, they come off better as Duke Ellington songs if I've really tightly arranged them. But most of the time in jazz, it's, even a song like that one, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, we have a basic idea how we're going into the song and how we're going out of the song. But I'll pass solos around, and it'll be a different order, just depending on my mood, or if I feel like maybe we should only have two solos this time, or
Or if
you know,
someone pissed you off on the ride over or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
those.
No solo
Come
for you.
cut your solos.
Right on.
Yeah,
And these arrangements are all yours too, right? On the record, on this record we're listening today
yes,
today. I thought I saw that in the liner notes.
yeah. I
Cool.
do all the arranging for the Aces, so yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, if folks out there tuned in have any questions throughout the show, feel free to throw them in the comments. And if you just joined the party, make sure to let us know where you're tuned in from, if you're enjoying a beverage, and what you think of the music. We're going to get back into the music right now and hear the title track to this 2012 release, Santaphone. What can you tell us about this, or do you want to just chat about it after we take a listen?
Well, I'll just say, I'll set it up because this is an original. The sousaphone player, he's the vocalist on this, Ihrig, and he's describing a trait that he shares with many people, I imagine. And I was inspired by him talking about it once, and I wrote out these lyrics for him that describes a story he told me. And I guess I'll let the song explain itself after that.
Right on. All right. This is a good one. This is the Southside Aces with Santaphone here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, everybody. Santaphone here, and I've got a little Yuletide tale to tell. See, this is a story about being a last-minute Larry. It's a story about my temptation for procrastination. It's a tale of putting things off. Folks will tell you that if it weren't for the last minute, a lot of things would never get done. Well, I'm here to tell you that one Christmas, I took that idea way too far. It was 6:45 on Christmas Eve, and I had no presents for my family. So I put on my parka, my galoshes, told my family I was going to bring the garbage out, and I headed down to Lake Street. I looked east, and I looked west, and all I could find open was a Chinese grocer and a halal butcher. And from past experience, I can tell you my wife, she doesn't like goat. Just as I was about to give up, I noticed a pawn shop out of the corner of my eye. Hallelujah, I said to myself. Hallelujah. Presents for my family, so I was at a pawn shop on Christmas Eve. I do believe I'll say that again. I had no presents for my family, so I was at a pawn shop on Christmas Eve. What happened next was a Christmas miracle. At least that's what I believe. Gun for Junior. In the other hand, diamond earrings for the missus. In one hand, a BB gun for Junior. In the other hand, diamond earrings for the missus. I'd be a Christmas hero, coming through on all their Christmas wishes. But that's when I saw her leaning in the corner with her big round. I put down the other presents when I saw her in the corner with her big round brass belt. It was a sousaphone. Would you think think I was talking about? I'm a family man, damn. Back home in my driveway, I started to realize that I might have made a big mistake. No, no, no. I looked at that sousaphone and I sort of had an inkling that I might have made a big mistake. No, no, no. So I quick grabbed me some tinsel off my neighbor's house. I had a sousaphone to decorate. I put on my red coat and I put on my white beard and I snuck through the back door. Watch out! I put on my red coat. I said I put on my white beard and I snuck through the back door. Watch out! I expected that look from the missus, you know, the one all salty pouty with her hands on her hips. But there was a big brass band in my living room, and they didn't have a brass bass. Excuse me, I said there was a brass band in my living room, and they needed a brass bass. Junior was on the trombone, and the missus, she had a big juicy smile on her face.
Oh man, that was one where we had to make sure it was really the end. There's a
That
few
was
psych out
epic.
endings. Excellent. That was Southside Aces with Santaphone, the title track to their 2012 release, which we are revisiting today on the back catalog listening party with one of the band's leaders, Tony Bailiff, and Santaphone, an original tune and original in all ways of that.
Based on
phrase.
true events, apparently.
Yeah.
And with some nice Minneapolis call-outs for those of you
Yeah.
who don't know, talking about being down on Lake Street and the going to the pawn shop. Well, I have a few questions. One is that you said that Ihrig, I believe, the sousaphone player,
Yes.
is the one on the vocals. Is he singing and talking in that, or is there?
Oh, yeah, that's great. We need to give credit to Rick Rexroth. He sang the actual vocalizing on there, the vocals, the little snippets. That's him. He sings on two other songs on the Christmas album. He sings our version of "Away in the Manger" and our version of Donny Hathaway's "This Christmas."
Nice.
He's a history teacher by profession, and one of our great friends, and just has a great voice for this. So.
Excellent. And so Ihrig was doing all the narration, all the storytelling, but I heard some sousaphone going on behind him. So when you
Yeah.
recorded this album, I'm guessing you had to double track all of this.
Yes, we did. But we do this live. So for our Christmas shows, I hire a trombonist who comes in to play trombone so that our trombonist, our regular trombonist, Eric Johnson, that is, can move to the back line and play his sousaphone. And then Eric Jacobson, our sousaphone player, can move to the front and sing. So
Nice.
it's a very
Nice.
complicated procedure.
Yeah, well, and then with 6 players, some of whom are more stationary than others, because some of you are sitting down. I would imagine if you're crammed in on especially like the Dakota stage isn't that big, so there's a lot of you to fit on there.
It goes fine. They actually have a little bit more room these days
Mm.
when, especially when they take the piano off of there. So it's the piano moved. It We had plenty of room last night. It's pretty fun. And then at the end, because there's two sousaphone players, why wouldn't you have an annual Christmas sousaphone duel? So we do that
It's
happens.
just what I wanted for
Good old
Christmas.
fashioned sousaphone duel. I love that.
Dueling sousaphones. I've not heard. I mean, Anthony and I being banjo players, we've heard of dueling banjos, but not
Yeah, of
dueling
course.
sousaphones. So I would love to hear that. That's good. And speaking of performing live, Chris was wondering. I should know this because he lives in the Twin Cities. Does the band get Mardi Gras gigs in Minnesota? I'm guessing you guys play around that time of year.
We do. It usually we actually it's funny, we often get hired for a church Mardi Gras, because they'll celebrate Pancake Tuesday or
Hmm.
Shrove Tuesday, depending on what they're calling it. Um, and then we just try to have something in a club that day.
Nice.
So you have a little more family friendly version, and then the party
Yes,
gown version.
The
yes,
party version.
yes.
Has the band been down to New Orleans?
Not individual members have, but not as the band,
Not
not
as
as
a
a band.
band.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now,
Well,
well, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, if you would like to help send the band,
Oh, I like that.
fuel up the tank, send the band down, down I-35, go down the Mississippi River to New Orleans, and help fuel their next record, their next tour. We do have a tip jar going for the Southside Aces. So if you're enjoying the music, you're cutting a rug, this is your time to show your appreciation. You can put a donation to their PayPal or their Venmo. You can also buy this record. They still have CD copies available on their website, southsideaces.com. And man, it sounds good. I can't think of a better stocking stuffer. And I don't know, Anthony Ihrig's stocking is looking pretty empty. Someone's
Right,
got to
right.
get
I'm
him
gonna
a
get a little
copy of that
Santaphone
CD.
in
Yeah.
here. Well, speaking of the recording piece, it does really sound great. Can you tell us a little bit about where it was recorded and the kind of the format of the recording? Like, did you guys just play together? And obviously this one probably had some layers going on, but what was the scene?
Yeah, other than like you mentioned with the last one, the double, we overdub vocals, but we as, we are a band that sort of likes to take our lumps and all get together in one room and see if we can see what can come of that. And like I
Nice.
say, take our lumps, because obviously, if you're not isolated, if all the horn, everything's not isolated, we do our best. We recorded this at Humans Win
Hmm.
Studio, or I
Mm.
should say, Humans Win,
Yeah.
because they're
Exclamation point.
exclamation point. Lance Conrad recorded us and mixed us, and he just uh, the thing that made us want to work with Lance was that his enthusiasm for attempting the challenge of recording a band like this all together in a room and doing it that sort of old school way of, so he had us around some central ribbon microphones, but then had each of us individually mic'd as well. He did a combination of the sounds from both of those, the room and the individual mics.
Well,
And I
Nice.
think it sounds great.
it
Yeah, it
does
does.
because you get to hear each individual instrument really well. It
It's
doesn't
still got
sound muddy. Yeah.
that live sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so I have to ask with some of these songs, do you remember any songs being like, oh, we had to do like 10 takes of that before we felt like we had a good version? Because when you record that many instruments live, obviously it can be anyone who can make any number of just little or just different, maybe not even mistakes, but
Well, if you're not listening to the album in the spirit of Christmas and you're listening more, you might find
Grinchy.
a few a few of those moments. Um, we actually, we generally speaking, get things done within 3 takes, two
Mm.
to three takes.
Nice.
We just really kind of work the songs out in the studio, and um, when I say we get it done in 2 to 3 takes, we have to accept an imperfect take as our
Mhm.
main take. That's for me.
Yep.
Strangely enough, that's part of the joy of this.
No, it sounds human. It sounds
Yeah.
real when you have those little imperfections. And I think for this style of music, especially, that's so important.
Hmm.
And speaking of which, like I feel like there is a tradition of almost these like story holiday songs in some of the older kind of traditional jazz stuff that I've heard before. Were you inspired by any specific tunes for this one to write lyrics for it?
Not, I mean, not tune wise. I knew I just needed a pretty cool kind of riff because I knew Eric wasn't going to sing it. I knew it was gonna be a spoken word piece. I was just mostly inspired by his story of procrastination. I just knew, yeah. And Eric Jacobson, for those of you who don't know him, has an incredible way of finding good luck. He really does, and I'm not envious. I think it's a beautiful thing, and he deserves it too because he might veer towards trouble, as in the case of picking the sousaphone over the family gifts. But he somehow finds a way to make it be a wonderful thing.
That's awesome. What a
Yeah.
great story.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I love that Alan rightly pointed out that I-35 doesn't technically go down to New Orleans. It's true. It goes down to Greeley, Texas, and he lives down that way. So that's why he wanted to point that out because he wants the Southside Aces to come his way down to Texas. So either way, you can help fuel up that gas tank by throwing in a tip in the tip jar on Venmo or PayPal, or by buying not just this album we're talking about today, Santaphone, but they have a brand new record that came out this summer called Minneapolis Bump. And I believe they also have other holiday releases as well.
Oh yeah, we do. We don't have a. It was just a. We released it digitally,
Mm.
an EP from 2020 when we did a holiday show. Um, we recorded a television special, so to speak, and we aired it online in during the pandemic. And yeah, we have a picture of the
Oh
station
my
there.
goodness.
For those who
Yeah,
just, we're looking at a picture now of a guitar player Santa with a beard in a giant TV and a drummer playing. This is the still I'm imagining from the session.
right. And this is in November of 2020, so things were still really
Hmm.
scary. And so I built this TV so that I could isolate the guitar player, so he'd feel a little bit better about being with us. And we also, Matt, you guys know what it's like to play with, but you usually play pretty close in formation on a stage.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
we filmed it in this church, in St. Barnabas Church, where we could each be about 10 feet away. So our bandstand was about 20 feet wide because we had to
Wow.
have all six of us just really spaced out. And we did all kinds of things to try to make ourselves as safe as possible then and still have fun recording this ridiculous Christmas special.
Well,
Now
I
the recording from this became the EP. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. We
oh, very cool.
five songs from this special became that
And is the
song.
special still available to watch? Is it still online somewhere?
Well, we are thinking about sneaking. You run into some trouble sometimes
Yep.
with the licensing and that.
Oh.
So we were
Yeah.
thinking about sneaking it on there
Yeah.
again, but
So maybe
yeah,
you
it's
should
not
follow
available.
the
But
Southside Aces on the social media places and go to their website, and that way you can be first alerted if something creeps up
something were
online.
to happen.
That's
Maybe
right.
some magical Christmas miracle will happen.
Well, that's cool. Well, you can find their social media and contact information and this EP as well as Santaphone here at their website, southsideaces.com. We'll put it in the comments as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's great.
EP is entitled "Stuff It 2020."
Which is
Nice.
the perfect title for an album that comes out in 2020. Well, we are so excited to be revisiting this record today, which came out in 2012, Santaphone. And the next track that you picked to feature on today's show is Santa's New Suit. Is there anything you want to say about this tune?
It's another original. The words were penned by Claudia Henkin, and the music was written The vocal music was written by Rondi Grundall Rexroth. She's a vocal teacher and vocal composer, and she and I have collaborated in the past so that we could do Boswell Sisters.
Hmm.
Um, um, between a six-piece band and a three-piece. The Boswell Sisters were a three-piece vocal group in the 30s, much like the Andrews Sisters. They, in fact, inspired the Andrews Sisters. And we've always been inspired by the Boswell Sisters and wanted to have a song of our own. And so it's a Christmas song in a three-piece singing, trio. So.
Awesome. Well, let's give it a listen. This is the Southside Aces, Santa's New Suit, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Christmas time was drawing near. I had everything in order. A run we shoveled for the deer with lights around the border. Cookies laid out and stockings hung. Candy canes and sparkling snow. Children nestled, carol sung. Gingerbread and mistletoe. I hope you shimmy down the chimney tonight. Tonight, please shimmy down the chimney tonight. I'd forgotten to call the chimney sweep. Someone tall and Dick Van Dyke-ish. The fireplace soot was inches deep. Santa surely wouldn't like this. And now Santa has a coal black suit. Santa has a coal black suit. At first he wasn't happy, till I told him he looked snappy. Santa's got a coal black suit. He shimmy down the chimney tonight. Tonight, he shimmy down the chimney tonight. And now Santa has a coal black. Don't know how he fit his big ass in that flue. Santa has a coal black suit. At first he wasn't happy, till I told him he looked snappy. Santa's got a coal black suit. When he laughed, he shook like a bowl full of jelly.
But a slightly smaller bowl because of the slimming effect.
He flew into the night and he said with a shout, Merry Christmas to all, and to all. Check me out.
Yeah.
Santa's New Suit from the Southside Aces from their 2012 album Santaphone here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. We are chatting with Tony Bailiff of the band Southside Aces and talking about this record. If you have any questions or comments about anything you're hearing or questions for Tony about the band, throw them in the comments. Oh, man, that was super fun. So do you get to bring in some of these vocalists, these guest vocalists when you perform these holiday shows live?
Well, Rondi sang with us. She usually sings with us. Rondi is actually married to Rick, so it's
Oh, nice.
a great husband and wife that singing, and she usually sings with us a couple of songs. It's hard to get together a vocal trio, so we don't use that one. Is very rarely performed in public.
Yeah. Well, you're hearing it here on the Back Catalog, and you can buy this album. You can find it on the digital places, but really you want to, if you have a way of playing a CD or you want to buy the high-res files, go on over to southsideaces.com or Bandcamp, and you can check it out because it sounds fantastic. And, I want that kind of holiday bounce, as Chris put it.
Yeah.
Chris said bouncy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that
got
one
the
is
groove.
that one's particularly bouncy, I think.
Yeah, and there's just a good dose of humor kind of throughout the two lyrical tunes that we hear. But I get the impression that maybe that's a part of the band itself. Is that something that is indicative of your band, of the Southside Aces?
Yes, we are not dour people up on the stage. we we definitely maybe have slightly too much fun when we're on the stage, but but it's good. Um, yeah, and it comes through. Even I think you're right, uh, Tony. It comes through on in the instrumentals even. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
there's humor to be had from instruments.
Yeah, it's a kind of a playfulness that I think jazz music has got this improvisational piece that is really conversational, and sometimes it sounds like you're joking around a little bit with each other.
Well, I would love to know, Tony, being a fan of holiday music, and obviously you guys play a lot of it as the Southside Aces. Do you have any go-to holiday records that you're like, every year I have to put this one on?
Well, a lot of my go-to holiday music or were they were recorded in a time when um, you could only put out the 78s.
Mhm.
And so any Louis Armstrong for me. Last night we played. One of the songs we're going to play here next is Winter Wonderland, and we have two different versions, and one is the one you're going to hear. But last night we played Louis Armstrong's version. He did a version that was slow, so slow, but it was so beautiful, and it got something else out of Winter Wonderland than you're not that you're not accustomed to hearing, and so I have to hear that every year. I have to hear him recite the night before Christmas every year,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then I like Rat Pack Christmas things too. I also every once in a while, I have a 45 set of Mario Lanza. It's a very serious approach to singing things like God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and, more maybe sacred Christmas music. And so I love that side of it too. So,
I feel like there's some similarities in traditional jazz with some of the traditional folk music that we have on the show, or that Ellen and I encounter in our circles. And there's a real art to arranging music that comes from the past, and it really can take on just about any form. When you hear something like you were just talking about, Louis Armstrong's version versus your version, can you talk a little bit about how you approach these songs? Like, do you have things in mind? Do you have do you purposely try to take it in a certain direction? I mean, I kind of almost see it like it's like another version of songwriting, when you arrange a song. And I'd love to just hear a little bit about your approach to arranging and choosing the things that you do.
if I have to talk about myself, okay. Um,
That's what we're here for. We want to hear it. We want to hear it.
well, I mentioned earlier the Duke Ellington, and to me it's a great sort of speaking point. When I approach arranging something, for instance, we do this uh, "Lament for Javanette," which was an old Duke Ellington song that Barney Bigard, the clarinetist, played in the recording, and it's this really mysterious, moody song. Um, and when I heard it, I thought the band can do this. We have to do this, and we have to do at least these certain elements, and I have to arrange them pretty exactly, just because I want 21st century ears to hear this song again
Hmm.
and hear the way it was played. But I don't think I've ever arranged a song where it's been 100% what the original artist did. I just hear elements that I know I want 21st century ears to hear,
Hmm.
and I include those in my arrangement, and then I'll either write my own parts to it, or I trust that my fellow musicians will improvise in ways to make it our own. And create rhythms that will make it our own. So it really is a combination. Then there's songs like the kind of really classic Bourbon Street Parade or Saints Go Marching In, or those kind of war horses of the traditional jazz, where it's more of a head chart. You just everyone just goes after it, and it's ensemble improvisation all the way through. So
Cool. Cool. Yeah, that's interesting that it sounds like you feel like you're a tradition bearer of some sort, like kind of bringing some of the stuff from the 78s and things that people aren't hearing and bringing it out for, like you mentioned, 21st century ears. I love that. And I think that's so important to have this stuff, especially the elements you want to preserve that way, but then maybe put it in a more palatable form in a modern recording. I love that. That's really cool.
And also, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No.
Oh, I was just going to say, and in an actual physical or digital format that we actually can listen to, because as you
Right.
mentioned, not everyone has, a record player, or certainly can't listen to it in the car. So, being able to listen to these tracks is so special for me. So, to these 21st century ears, are very grateful.
Good.
So let's take a listen to Winter Wonderland. Since you picked this from your 2012 album Santaphone, is there anything else you want to say about this before we charge in?
This one is, we talked about Charlie DeVore, my mentor, earlier. He sings on this one, and he is a model of, he very much took to heart Louis Armstrong, often got accused of, he clowned around too much, or he's too much smiling and horsing around and joking around. But Louis Armstrong always said, well, I just always want to entertain the people. But when the horn goes to my lips, it's all about the music. And Charlie DeVore was very much that guy. He was so funny. He is a inspiration and a mentor to me in the music, but also in the way you should have fun and you should try to entertain people. I think there's a combination of being very serious about the music, but also being very funny and entertaining, that I think goes really well together. And he embodied that, and you'll hear it. You'll definitely hear it.
Nice. All right, let's give it a listen. This is Southside Aces, Winter Wonderland, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
ground lies a mantle of white, a heaven of diamonds shine down through the night. Two hearts are thrilling in spite of the chill and the weather. Love knows no season, love knows no clime. Romance can blossom any old time. Here in the open, we're walking and hoping together. Oh, sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in the winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, Here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in the winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown. You'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man, but you can do the job when you're in town later on. We'll perspire as we sweat by the fire, face unafraid, the plans that we made, walking in the winter wonderland. Circus clown. We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman till all the other kitties knock him down when it snows. Ain't a thrillin', though your nose gets a chillin'. We'll frolic and play the Eskimo way, walking in the winter wonderland.
All right. Southside Aces with Winter Wonderland from their 2012 album Santaphone, which you can buy, folks, because it's sounding awesome.
It sure is.
And that's only a sampling of what's on the record. So you might want to, get that as a stocking stuffer. You can go to southsideaces.com and purchase a copy. And, when you buy it on Bandcamp, you can throw in a little extra for the Southside Aces.
That's right.
And who knows, maybe Tony or whoever handles the CDs might sign it. I don't know. So you could do that as a special stocking stuffer. And Joni says so much fun. And I totally agree.
That was a lot of fun.
And you already did your last holiday show here in the Twin States last night at the Dakota. But if folks live in the Twin Cities and are looking for something to do tomorrow night, the Southside Aces are doing not a holiday show, but they're playing as part of a cabaret show at the Amsterdam in St. Paul.
Yes, it is a burlesque show, burlesque, and there's some singing, but it's largely a burlesque show with some holiday music.
So there will be some.
So it's probably going to be I'd say about 65, 35 holiday music non-holiday music.
That sounds like
Excellent.
Still a
fun.
chance to catch some of these songs, but in a very different format.
I
Because of the last-
was going to say very different from what you did at the Dakota, probably.
Yes, yes.
Excellent. Well, folks can check that out. And of course, check out all their tour dates at southsideaces.com. This has been such a treat to have you on the show, Tony, and what a fun
Yeah.
record.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I was really
Thank-
tickled when you invited me, so thank you very much.
I can't think of a better way to kind of kick off, this next week as we kind of continue our preparations, our holiday preparations, than this last hour. And before we adjourn here, though, I do want to ask, does Charlie have recordings that people could check out? Because man, that was a lot of fun to listen to him, and it'd be. I think people who are listening now might be curious to see who influenced you. Did he have recordings?
Well, those guys. He largely recorded with the Hall Brothers Jazz Band, and they didn't. I mean, they released record albums, and you can find them out there, but not no.
So
There's
you used
not a
record
kind
shops,
going
kind of?
concern. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or you can contact me if you're really interested, and all my email and everything is on the website. Contact me to ask any questions about Charlie DeVore and how you might be able to get your hands on some of the music, because I have my sources.
It's got the inside line. Well,
All
I think that's
right.
just so awesome that you're bringing all of the traditional music, this wonderful music to light, man. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you all for joining us today for this fun holiday party. If you joined us for the first time here on the Back Catalog Listening Party, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we do this every Friday. Not always as festive as this, but not always
Yeah.
that kind of
Ellen
two Christmas
doesn't always
trees.
have the holiday Santas on.
Yeah, Anthony doesn't always have his Christmas collar, and our guests don't always have great Christmas moose sweaters or two Christmas trees in the background. But we do invite different guest artists every week to revisit old records. And if you want to know who's coming up next, you can subscribe to that YouTube channel. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can like it on YouTube and direct more bots to the Southside Aces, and
Thank you.
that would be a great thing. And
Mhm.
also, if you want to just revisit the music for your holiday gatherings and celebrations. And I should say that next week we're going to continue the holiday fun with a replay of last year's show with the McCrary sisters out of Nashville, and it was such a fun episode. And because of the YouTube overlords didn't let us keep it up in perpetuity, so we're going to do a special replay of it next week. And I plan on joining in live on the chat. And so if you want to join us for that, it's a really fun show from their very
Yeah.
McCrary Christmas record. And yeah, they're like the daughters of one of the founding members of the Fairfield Four. They've been recorded on every big country and gospel and Americana record you can think of, including
Yeah.
Bob Dylan. One of the sisters sings regularly with Bob Dylan. So
That
just
was a
saying.
really, really good episode. Highly recommend that one.
yeah, so that's next week. But we want to just thank you for being here today with us. And we also really want to thank our patrons. These are the folks that have kept the show going through how many episodes, Tony?
This is episode 140.
What?
Yeah.
140. Whoa.
140.
And it's all because of
Here's
these
to
folks.
you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And here's to the folks who keep the show going: Penny,
Yes.
Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, and John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Court, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead, Pick and Parlor, Severin, Lynn, Jake, Mary, Many Tracks, and Nikki, and maybe you, if you would like to join the Patreon community. And if you do it before next week, before the 30th, we're having a special year-end holiday party online as well. So you can be a part of that. You can get first notice of all our guests. And but mainly, we just want to see you here every week. This is
We
what
do.
it's all about.
This is what it's all about. And Tony, again, thank you so much
Mm.
for spending this hour. That was so wonderful.
you.
So
and
fun.
man, I can't wait to see the band live again sometime soon. And just a reminder that you can learn all about the Southside Aces at their website, southsideaces.com. And have a great rest of your season, Tony. And
Thanks, you
we'll see
too.
the rest of you next week here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. Cheers.
Cheers.